Hi, you're here with Zoe Arthurs from Business Basics. So today I wanted just to provide you with some information, guidance and advice that's available to you either personally or as a small business owner. Quite often when you're entering the world of business, it can seem quite daunting and actually you're not necessarily aware of the help and advice that's available to you and where to access sources of information should you run into difficulty. So the first one may seem quite obvious, but it is the Citizens Advice Bureau, also known as the CAB, and what they aim to do is provide free, independent and confidential advice on a range of subjects. So that could be whether you're having problems at work, whether you're running into debt, whether you need help on consumer law, perhaps you've had some issues with health and safety within your business, or perhaps you just really don't know where to start. So they're legally trained advisors will guide you through the process. They'll provide you with the support that you need, and they'll provide you and signpost you to any relevant information that might be relevant to you starting a business, or both personally or within sort of the business environment. So what I want you to do just now is just pause the video. I want you to think about an advantage and disadvantage of this service, and then join me when you've got a couple written down. So the second one I want to signpost you to is the Independent Financial Advisory Service, the IFI. So what they do are they are registered through the Financial Conduct Authority, so they are a fully regulated body, but because they are independent, it does mean that they are not biased towards a particular brand or product. So they're solely focused on providing you with the best deal possible. So it's really important that you actually just take some time as a small business owner and start considering actually what it is you need and where you can find the best guidance and advice for you. So they will provide you information on financial or tax planning, investments, mortgages and equity release, protection insurance, pensions and pension transfers. So make sure you do shop around, that you're not actually paying the huge bills that some of these services offer as individuals, but actually you do go through the IFI just to check that you are getting the best deal. So again, what I want you to do is just pause the video and write down one advantage and disadvantage of the IFI, and then join me when you're ready. So it may seem obvious, we see them on the adverts on the TV all the time, but actually what is the purpose of price comparison websites? Well, the real reason they were set up is to provide consumers the best prices. So in my previous video we talked about making sure that market integrity was upheld at all times, and making sure that actually one brand did not have the monopoly or the major market share. So price comparison websites are really there to provide you, the consumer, the best deal possible. But it's also to maintain competition. And that, again, as I said in my market integrity video, is to make sure that you, the consumer, are getting the fairest deal possible. So pause the video again. You've got it by now, and just write one advantage and disadvantage of these sites. So I mean, the obvious question is, why do we need a money advice service? Well, the service basically helps you to manage your money better. So quite often this is a barrier to people who are thinking about entering business because they're not really sure how to manage money, or what running a business entails. And quite often that can lead to the failure of the business within the very early points of the business starting out. So basically, if you log on to MARS, so Money Advice Service, it will help you and guide you through processes of which you will be able to manage your money better. It will provide you explanations and calculators, so it will provide you with support on how to control the money flow within your business. So if you're not sure what your cash flow should look like, have a look at my later videos. But it will also help you when it comes to managing debt, borrowing and saving money, and obviously how to work towards that all-important retirement fund. So in terms of the money advice service, it is completely free. They do have a helpline if you are really struggling, but just bear in mind that actually there is a huge amount of information on there, but as long as you are managing your cash inflows, some money you have coming into your business, against the money going out of your business adequately, you shouldn't really get into too much difficulty. So if you want to, you can continue with the activities of just writing one advantage and disadvantage. So if you're not able to control debt, and sometimes when you are running a business, debt does spiral, it happens to everyone, even the larger organisations. You will see that the high street is currently facing collapses at the moment. It's difficult not to sort of get bogged down with, just sort of ticking over. So if you are struggling with debt, you're not sure how to manage it, you can actually access a debt counselling service. So again, they will provide you with free impartial advice. They may provide you with debt consolidation options, but they will also help you personally with coping mechanisms, because when you are entering debt, quite often you can feel quite let down, and actually it's not always your fault. Sometimes actually your ins and outs in terms of the flow of money coming into your business is just not quite worked out as you had hoped. So what they'll do is they will step in, they'll guide you, they'll support you. It's all completely confidential, but they'll help make sure that actually you're not going into any more financial hardship. So it is really important that actually when you are facing debt, that actually you put your hands in the air, you do sort of say, yeah, I need help, and you start accessing these free impartial services that can help and guide you before it gets to the stage of IVAs or bankruptcy. So if perhaps it's gone too far, the debt can't be salvaged, you can't make ends meet, and the debt counsellors haven't been able to help you in the way that you hoped, there are two ways that you can actually get yourself out of debt. One is through an individual voluntary arrangement, so an IVA, and they are an agreement that you will have with your creditors to pay off all or part of your debt. So they're introduced a step before bankruptcy is filed in a bid to stop the business losing money that someone may be able to pay off. So if you've spoken to your debt counsellor and you've accessed the money advice service, perhaps you are able to pay off the debt, but perhaps you're not able to make the repayments in the large amounts that the debt collection company is originally asking for. So an IVA will come in and they'll negotiate a much lower rate, but it will mean that actually you can still keep hold of your business at this point, but you can pay it off over smaller amounts, but over a much longer term. But just be aware that if your business does have an IVA, it will impact your credit rating, and it is one step before bankruptcy. So really you need to be looking at actually managing that debt much earlier on than getting to this sort of arrangement where you're sort of being pushed into a corner, if you like. However, if you can't, then bankruptcy is the only option for you. Then it's just important to recognise actually what the implications are for you, both personally and as a business. So if you're able to file for bankruptcy, so you've had an involuntary arrangement that's perhaps not worked out for you, you have to declare yourself bankrupt. So you have to pay at least £500 to do this, and you will basically it's worked on. If your income is high enough, you will be asked to make repayments towards your debts for 3 years. So it's important to recognise that bankruptcy isn't an easy option. It's not an option that should be considered lightly. And I'm sorry if you can see my Labrador just having a reshuffle behind me, because it will affect your credit rating for the next 6 years. And it's also important to recognise that actually your possessions may have to be sold to pay back the debt, and your business will have to close. It's not an option. Actually, the chances are that you may lose a whole lot more than just your business at this stage. So again, it's making sure that you have actually managed your debt appropriately, you've accessed every point of advice that's available to you and you can document that, that you've considered IVA, so paying your debt over smaller amounts over a much longer period of time before you take the route to bankruptcy. Because you may want to open a business in the future. Just because this business idea hasn't won, perhaps future ones will win for you. So just bear in mind that your credit rating will be affected for up to 6 years, which is a huge amount of time that you won't be able to get any credit cards, loans, mortgages will become very, very difficult. And quite often what that will lead to is much higher interest repayments if they do loan for you. So just consider all the options before you do file for bankruptcy. Make sure that you are aware of all the options that are available to you if you do get into debt, and don't be afraid to ask for help. There's huge amounts of help available to you for free, as both on a personal level and as a small business owner. So thanks for watching. I hope it's given you some advice and guidance, and as always I'll put the links in the comments section at the below should you need to access any of these. Speak to you soon. Bye.